This mutation is called Time Lock, and it is being played on Lock and Load. We have 3 mutators active. We have Mag-nificent, we have Speed Freaks, and we have Time Warp. So let's have a look at the masteries while the players get set up. This is going to be a Kerrigan solo, so Raynor over here will not really be doing anything except helping Kerrigan cap the locks, but Raynor will not be building an army, and they will not be using their cooldowns throughout the course of this game. So Kerrigan has gone for 30 points into the Kerrigan attack damage, 30 points into the immobilization wave mastery, and then 30 points into the primary ability improvement mastery. So a very powerful solo-ish Kerrigan kind of build, maybe some units towards the end of the game, but the priority here is on Kerrigan. And Kerrigan has also picked the second prestige, the Folly of Man prestige. So let's talk about these mutators. The first one is Mag-nificent, so as you can see there are mag mines deployed throughout the course of the map. And if you are playing this with an ally and you're going to play this, if you're going to do a regular straight up game of this mutation, it is very recommended to take a drone or one of your SCVs or any one of your workers at the start of the game and start triggering these mag mines. You can just walk near them and they will start to trigger, and you can move around the map here and just clear that area out so that when your hero units come out you will spend less time being miserable trying to dodge these mag mines. Speed Freaks makes the enemy units move a lot faster, so this includes the enemy units on the locks, but also the enemy units in the attack waves. So attack waves will start to cap locks a lot faster than you would normally expect because of the Speed Freaks mutator. And then lastly we have the Time Warps. And Time Warps will be spread randomly around the map, and usually where your army is, the Time Warp will try and hit your army there, and it causes a slow on your army throughout the duration of the Time Warp. Kerrigan has already put down the first Nice Worm and is ready to go. So at the 4-minute mark, Kerrigan will be out, and this Nice Worm will also be ready to go. And you can see here Raynor has his SCVs. They're just basically chilling over here, nothing really much for them to do. The goal here is the SCVs will only be used to cap the locks as soon as Kerrigan has cleared the area out. So that is basically how it usually works, even for speedrun strategies where you are trying to do solo speedruns. So these SCVs just chilling around, having a look around, and the first attack wave has spawned. First Nice Worm is done. SCVs are going to go into the Omega Worm, and that is basically Raynor's job done. Now Kerrigan has to start clearing out this area, and this is one of these Time Warps over here. And you have to kind of be careful about these mag mines. These mag mines can do a lot of damage, and they are all over the map, and if you're not really paying attention, it is very easy to start getting wrecked by these mag mines. You see Kerrigan is going to start slapping some of these rocks over here, jumps in with an assimilation aura, and she has basically deleted a good chunk of the enemy units here. Again, attacking these bunkers, building up her fury stacks, and then using a leap forward, and she is able to clear out this lock very quickly. There are a couple of bunkers left over here, and really nothing else left for Amon to attack Kerrigan with. So the first Omega Worm is done now, and Kerrigan is going to be moving over towards the central lock here. And again, remember that these mag mines are all over the map, and some of them are also available on the high ground, so you have to be a little bit careful when you're pushing up ramps, because you can get smoked here. Kerrigan uses her Fury stack again built up. There's a secret missile on top of Kerrigan. Kerrigan is able to clear that out without any problem. Fury stacks again here, but Kerrigan's Carapace is keeping her alive, and that Raven stands no chance against the onslaught of Kerrigan here. On the way, we have the chain reaction upgrade for Kerrigan and a hive, and we also have another Omega Worm. So that is going to be good to go. And again, the idea is just, especially if you're doing a solo Kerrigan build, just relying on the Omega Worms can make a huge difference. And then Kerrigan is just waiting here for, I believe, this Omega Worm to be completed before she starts to push through. And one thing you will notice is that Kerrigan will be relying on these rocks to build up her Fury stack. So she's going to be stepping forward just to get within range of the lock. And when she has the Fury stack, she jumps forward and then runs back. And now she's just going to go and poke these rocks again. And this is something you can do over here. That Viking is somewhat upset with Kerrigan, but it soon realizes that being upset with Kerrigan is a very bad idea. Kerrigan building up her Fury stacks on top of the bunker and on top of the missile turrets, and that was pretty much the entire lock clear. And this is the power of P2 Kerrigan. If you're able to build up these Fury stacks, it is just absolutely insane how powerful Kerrigan can be. And eventually, once the Nice Worm count goes up a little bit and Kerrigan has enough Omega Worms, what she can actually do is actually rely on her Omega Worms to build up her Fury stacks. So what she would normally do is just put down an Omega Worm next to her, usually at the bottom of the ramp, build up the Fury stacks on top of that Omega Worm, and then jump into the into a lock area and clear everything out. So that is something else you can do, especially if you are playing with an ally. You have a little bit more leeway, but the goal here is to just have these locks camped and cleared as quickly as possible. If Kerrigan runs out, if the mission time gets a little bit too long, you have very frequent attack waves that start to spawn, and you have double pronged attack waves, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to clear the mission and cap the locks in a reasonable amount of time, because you spend most of the time trying to handle these attack waves. Especially when they have the Speed Freaks Mutator, it's actually kind of difficult to get everything up in line here. Raven casting a few more secret missiles. See how fast that Raven just moves over here. Kerrigan gets stuck in the time warp. She'll have to be a little bit careful with these mag mines again, but again, with the Fury and with her Carapace, she's able to tank this damage without really any problems. And now she has to try and push into this enemy camp here. So again, dodging these mag mines, and you see the damage these mag mines can do just a little bit, and that pretty much takes off a lot of HP from the Mega Worm. So what do we have in production for Kerrigan? So Kerrigan is producing... Oh, she's actually finished her ability efficiency upgrade. So that is pretty much all the upgrades that she's going to need. Pokes the Nice Worm and then jumps forward and one-shots everything in the enemy camp here. And there's just one last bunker, and she's going to use again her Fury stacks. And that pretty much clears out this area here. So we'll see which lock she wants to go forward next. I think she's going to go in for the northern lock. There's the Mega Worm over here. Again, few more mag mines. Has to be a little bit careful. She will be having to push up onto the high ground now, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky. But the Mega Worm comes out. Kerrigan builds up her Fury stacks. And as soon as she gets vision, slightly move forward, and that pretty much one-shots all the low HP units. And again, there are a few more mag mines over here, getting a little bit dangerously close, but Kerrigan jumps back into the Mega Worm to try and dodge these mag mines. And there are two upset hybrids, but not really too much of a problem. Kerrigan will come out in just a little bit. And where is she going to be up next? Okay, there we go. She's back out now. The hybrids have taken out the Mega Worm. The Kerrigan now is going to build up some more Fury stacks and start to push in as well. So we have two more Fury stacks here. Could use that. And there is another secret missile on top of Kerrigan, but Kerrigan is maybe going to jump out of the way. Now she's just going to soak up the damage, and now she is just going to start auto-attacking the hybrid, building up the Fury stacks, and jumping back in again. This hybrid is really, really tanky, so Kerrigan has to be a little bit careful. We have some queens over here just to transfuse Kerrigan, really creative strategy. And now Kerrigan will be ready to go and deal with this hybrid. This hybrid has very little bit of HP left, but now Kerrigan has to try and handle this double-pronged attack wave. And this is where the mission gets a little bit more tricky. There is an 11-minute attack wave here that has spawned, and Kerrigan has pretty much cleared all of this. Raven being a little bit annoying with the secret missile. Kerrigan doesn't really care. He just slightly jump out of the way. The Carapace is able to tank the damage dealt by the secret missile, and now Kerrigan has this lock pretty much cleared up. And what is she going to do now? Is she just trying to get it just after this Raven? This Raven is... You can get really, really annoying when you have cloaked units. One thing I'll also bring up now that I can see this Raven being a little bit annoying. One thing I should bring up is that when you're playing on this mission, you should not borrow your drones if you're playing Zerg commanders, because if you do that, the Ravens from around the map will come in and they will cause you a lot of pain and a lot of harassment. So make sure you do not use a borrowed drone when you're playing up against Terran. When you're up against Zerg and Protoss, they're going to send observers and overseers. It doesn't really matter too much because you're going to cap the lock in that time. But the reason why you don't want to do it against Ravens is because Ravens will drop their auto turrets down, and that can just get really, really annoying. So make sure you do not borrow your drones at the locks. Just make sure they are parked over there. Kerrigan has used an immobilization wave and an assimilation aura to weaken this lock here. But again, lots of damage from these mag mines. That hybrid dominator as well being a little bit annoying. Kerrigan has to try and soften this hybrid up before she starts to push in. Uses her Fury stacks. Hybrid dominator does try and use a plasma blast, but that is one of the other advantages of using the Mega Worm, is that you can dodge these plasma blasts by jumping into the Mega Worm before the skill cast completes. So you can actually get away with that and get a lot of good value for these Mega Worms. So this is a very, very important part of solo Kerrigan play, is when you're using a solo hero, is to use as many of these Mega Worms as you can. So there's one random Goliath over here, not really too much of a problem for Kerrigan just yet. She will have to clean up that Goliath at some point. But right now, the goal for Kerrigan is just build up these Fury stacks and just keep one-shotting whatever she can here. And using these Fury stacks, she is able to jump in and clear that. You can see that that's the issue here. That borrowed drone can be somewhat problematic. That borrowed drone actually dodges the mag mine there, which is kind of nice. The drone being a little bit lucky, And now we have Kerrigan capping the lock with her ally. So over here now she jumps in to try and intercept this attack wave. Again, the Fury stacks being very, very vital for Kerrigan's ability to clear this. Now she's jumped on top by another attack wave, and now there's another assimilation aura over here, another slightly move, and that has pretty much been the entire attack wave cleared out. Kerrigan is very effective for dealing with large numbers of enemy units very, very quickly, so not really much of a problem. There's another Raven over here, and this is exactly what I was talking about. That auto turret harass that comes up. If you have drones that are burrowed over here, the Ravens will come from around the map and they will start to harass you. So make sure that against Terran, you do not borrow your Zerg drones if you are capping them. Any other unit for that matter as well. Zerglings, Banelings, all the same idea. Do not borrow your Zerg units when you are capping the lock, especially, well, particularly against Terran. You can't do it against the enemy races. Those are 4 of the 5 locks cleared, so there's one more lock down. This lock has pretty much been softened, so Kerrigan has to just jump in one more time. This hybrid doesn't really have very much HP left, I think, or maybe the hybrid might have even died right there. Now Kerrigan is just going to jump in, and all that is left are a set of bunkers. These bunkers are not really going to do very much. Secret missile on top of Kerrigan gets soaked up in terms of damage by the carapace that Kerrigan has built up here. And now Kerrigan is just going to be jumping from bunker to bunker, and does get hit by a mag mine, but again, that gets soaked up by the carapace. And now that she's starting to cap the locks, all the enemy units near the lock will try and stop her from capping, so that will draw aggro away. But that is pretty much the northern lock completely cleared out now. We have another border drill in here, and you see what I mean by this Raven. Ravens can be very, very annoying. But Kerrigan jumps down here just to try and deal with this. Now Kerrigan jumps out, clears the Raven on this northern side, jumps back in to avoid the Seeker missile, unnecessary damage, so that is pretty good. And I think that is pretty much it. Nothing else. Kerrigan just picking up the random bits of assimilation aura, but those are all the locks done. All the locks cleared. A little bit of Raven harass. Terran probably the worst one of the lot, but those are all the locks capped. That is GG.